Namaste, hello, and welcome to In India's Interest, where we debunk fake narratives attempting to bring India down. I'm your host, Priyanka. We're going to go right into our story, which is Pakistan's National Security Advisor, Moeed Yusuf, equating Hindus to Nazis. Recently, Yusuf has also stated that India is a threat to the entire planet, tweeting that it will blow up in the face of the world if the world doesn't acknowledge the fascism of this Hindutva-inspired regime. I got curious about the logic and facts behind Yusuf's strong views along with the statements made by the Imran Khan government. What I found was that what they were presenting was not objective, academic, nor fact-based. Here's why. First, in a media briefing on September 15, 2021, Yusuf stated, and I quote, "You have got an identical trajectory, an identical mindset, an absolute similarity between the 1930s of Nazi Germany and what is happening in Hindutva India." But Yusuf forgets that India, unlike Nazi Germany, is a democratically elected government. Yusuf also claims that the fascism of the Hindutva-inspired regime in India will also have a similar outcome as the violent Taliban takeover that just happened in Afghanistan. He states, and I quote, "I hope the world doesn't wake up to the reality of Modi's India as late as it did to the internal policy failures in Afghanistan." The problem with Yusuf's statements is that they are baseless. This is because Yusuf forgets that a major reason for why Afghanistan is under Taliban rule is because of the ongoing support it receives from Pakistan, which goes against the Afghan government. Moreover, this is not the only time that Moeed Yusuf and the Imran Khan government have accused the Indian government of being fascist. After the abrogation of Article 370, Yusuf once again equated the RSS-BJP ideology to Nazis without proof or facts, which makes it seem that Yusuf is peddling Hindu-phobic propaganda and misinformation deliberately. He states, and I quote, "To understand the link between Nazi ideology and the ethnic cleansing and genocide ideology of RSS-BJP founding fathers, just Google." The data does not support Yusuf's claims even on Google. While the Muslim population has increased exponentially under so-called Nazi rule in India, the Hindu population in Pakistan has become significantly low. In his parliament speech on the CAA, Home Minister Amit Shah stated that in 1947, Hindus accounted for 23% of Pakistan's population. In 2011, Hindus only accounted for about 3.6% of Pakistan's population. In contrast, according to reports, in 1951, Muslims accounted for 9.8% of India's population. That's approximately 3.5 crore Muslims. In 2021, they account for 14.2% of India's total population. In other words, there are 17.2 crore Muslims currently residing in India. Yusuf fails to explain this data in any of his statements. These grossly unsupported claims and statements are unsurprising from Moeed Yusuf and the Imran Khan government. But what about the Dismantling Global Hindutva conference that was recently held on September 11, 2021 in the USA? The conference was held over 3 days with over 60 departments from over 45 universities co-sponsoring the event. Many of these universities were American. This conference saw participation from those known for anti-Hindu comments, including Rutgers professor Audrey Trushka and Anand Patwardhan. Like Yusuf's claims, the entire Dismantling Global Hindutva conference was full of inaccurate and baseless statements. One example was a panelist stating that the BJP's outreach to the Hijra community, which is part of the LGBTQ community, is dangerous. However, the panelist fails to provide any facts or instances about any dangerous incidents that have occurred. This panelist also makes it appear as if integrating the LGBTQ community is a bad thing, when in fact it's a progressive measure of integration. Let's not forget that it was under the Modi government that Section 377 of the Constitution was scrapped. Section 377 allowed the state to interfere in matters of sexual orientation and personal choice. To add to this, UP CM Yogi Adityanath dedicated a whole metro station to the transgendered community. Furthermore, there is nothing in Hindu culture nor in the history of Hindu civilization that calls for discrimination against the LGBTQ community. Scrapping Section 377 was an official stance taken by the Modi government. In contrast, the Catholic Church and Islamic states have either condemned or made no official policy regarding the inclusivity of the LGBTQ community. Another thing stated during the conference is that Brahmanism is responsible for Nazism. This is blatantly not true because Adolf Hitler was inspired by white supremacist ideals. The panelist who said this incorrectly thinks that it was Hindutva that inspired Hitler's genocide of the Jews. Moreover, this academic conference not only failed to maintain academic integrity, but also failed to maintain academic decorum. A panelist without any context or evidence stated that Modi's India is, and I quote, like a huge phallus standing in front of us. The on-ground impact of these baseless and misinformed, inaccurate claims is real and disturbing. A Hindu family was recently the victim of hate crime. The family was assaulted, pelted with rocks, and abused while performing a puja in Canada. A church in Minnesota, USA released a letter to the public to stop the construction of a temple. The letter contained highly discriminatory Hindu-phobic statements. It read, and I quote, "Do your due diligence and let the real God of the Bible guide you. Hindu gods will not bring prosperity, and such temples do not impress the real God." Earlier this year, protesters barged into a gathering of approximately 400 people celebrating Holi in Canada. The protesters raised Khalistani flags and shouted slurs against PM Modi and the Indian government. Hindu students also face discrimination. University of Oxford student Rashmi Samant, who was the first Indian woman elected as Oxford Student Union president, was asked to resign due to her religious beliefs. Rutgers University professor Audrey Trushka continues to make derogatory anti-Hindu comments, especially on her social media. She's called Lord Ram, and I quote, a misogynistic pig, and thinks that the reported number of Hindus, approximately 4.6 million, that were killed during Aurangzeb's rule is simply made up, that it's fabricated. She also relies on non-academic sources like comedian Trevor Noah to back up her claims. Every citizen has the right to feel safe in their community and country. Every student has the right to feel safe on a university campus. How can they feel safe if professors themselves are peddling Hindu-phobic rhetoric? Hindu students and families like Rashmi Samant will fall victim to discrimination, harassment, and even physical violence. It's evident that Pakistan's National Security Advisor Moeed Yusuf, the Dismantling Global Hindutva conference, and others involved are not at all concerned about putting objective information and facts out. When confronted with real data and counterclaims backed with evidence, they also give no answer. Professor Trushka blocked me on Twitter when I asked her why she thought the millions of Hindus killed during Aurangzeb's rule was fabricated. These people also don't seem to care that Hindus around the world are already becoming victims of hostility and physical aggression due to misinformation. Arguments and claims continue to be presented without context, logic, or objective facts. This shows that their aim is to push a selective and dangerous anti-Hindu agenda under the guise of academic scholarship and integrity. Please share this video as it is important for people to know. Stop the spread of misinformation and false statements. Thanks for watching In India's Interest, where we debunk fake narratives attempting to bring India down. Until next time, this is Priyanka signing off. Namaste.